You're listening to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Tell us your thoughts on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
Good morning. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz alongside Mark Blankenbaker. I am Brad Steen, filling in for the lovely and talented Tyler Bloyd. Mark, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Yeah, Tyler's up there. He's hunting Bambi.
Yeah. First day?
I think it's the first weekend. I think
First
they actually
weekend
started on Wednesday or Thursday, the hunting season. So Tyler's out there with his rifle,
Yeah.
the trusty rifle.
I hope he's listening in. Thanks for tuning in on this Saturday morning.
Yeah, and give us a call, 384-1450 on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line, or text us on the Lotus Gunworks text line 414-1450. We'd love to hear from you.
Or if you really want, you can tweet at us at SteenKaiSco, STIENE.
Or you can.
And then in all caps, KYSCO, and then at Cards and Cats. Use the hashtag.
At Cards and Cats.com, and whatever hashtag you want to. I don't use the hashtag.
I don't either. I'm not a fan of the hashtags. But, shoot us a tweet, text, call us. We don't care.
Yeah, you can interact with us in any way. So, last night,
how about that? That is actually what I want to get into first. The Kentucky game last night. There were a lot of things that I liked, and there were a lot of things that I didn't like.
What didn't you like?
The first thing I didn't like that comes to my mind is definitely rebounding. Kentucky was absolutely owned on the glass by a much weaker, in my opinion, Maryland team.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, that was a Maryland team with size.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. That's a Maryland team with size, but Kentucky has just as much size. I mean, I know they're freshmen, but you can't give up 28 offensive rebounds and a minus 16 rebound margin.
No, it's unbelievable. I think it's actually minus 12.
And minus 12. Well, regardless, then if that's the case, then CoachCal.com is wrong with their stats.
Well, CoachCal.com and ESPN.com could beg to differ.
Yeah,
but I think the way that the game ended was how I thought the entire game would go. I was really shocked with the way that Kentucky kind of came out in the first half and dominated.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised to see Maryland come back, but I kind of didn't think that they could with the big lead that Kentucky had built.
I thought Des Wells was actually going to play a bigger role than he actually did. I mean, I know I'm from Northern Kentucky. I followed the Musketeers every now and then. I know how good Des Wells can be.
Right.
I thought Kentucky did a pretty good job at shutting him down.
Yeah, 2 for 12 from the field, and you got to figure that's not a normal Des Wells night. If he hits 4 more shots and hits 50% from the field, it's game the other way.
Oh, it also goes to show the 3-point shooting Maryland had was just atrocious last night. But Kentucky, unable to get the rebound, kept Maryland in that game last night. There are some good things that I do want to point out, though. Jared Polson.
How about him?
My main man from Nicholasville, Kentucky.
Third leading scorer on the team for the Kentucky Wildcats, defending champion.
Never in a million years would I have said, you know what, Jared Polson is going to win us a game.
Yeah, I mean, he made the most of his 22 minutes, and I was surprised because he just kind of found himself in these little positions, and then he didn't even think. He just put it up and it went in.
He was kind of one of those guys that you see at the YMCA league. He kind of just lurks around.
Yeah.
But he will get his points.
He vultured all kinds of points last night.
Without a doubt. And I think he stepped up huge because, Ryan Harrow was definitely struggling last night. There were some moments where I felt like Polson almost took control of the game. It sounds crazy. I can't believe and never in my 22 years of existence would I have ever said this guy would have played a huge, intricate role in Kentucky's win last night. Coming down, getting fouled, shooting the 2 foul shots to essentially close out the game. And there were some points where I felt like when Kentucky needed a basket, he gave the ball to the right guy, which, to my next point, which I also liked, was Kyle Wilcher.
Oh, yeah.
Wilcher was huge last night. A solid 19 points. He led the way in scoring. It seemed like would you say that this Wilcher, would you say that he might have to be the guy, the Darius Miller?
I think what they have to do with Wilcher is they have to work to get him open shots, because Kyle Wilcher's not going to dribble down the floor, jab step, beat the guy out the dribble, and pull up for 3. They need to work to get him, set him screens, and get him open, because when they did that last night, he was money.
He was money.
And, my biggest concern from last night was Nerlens Noel's free throw shooting.
Oh.
Did you have a feeling when he shot a free throw that it had any chance of going in at any time?
There was some points where I thought, just throw it over. This is something that I actually wrote on KentuckySports.co last night, was the free throw shooting, and I put that under the bad column.
Right.
Kentucky was 18 of 28 from the foul line.
18 of 28.
Now, I know
that's not a terrible percentage.
It's not a terrible percentage, but I am a free throws drive me insane. It's one of my pet peeves.
We consider that Archie Goodwin was 9 for 11.
Yeah,
that's good percentage.
Yeah, he'll get Archie Goodwin's going to get to the line.
Right.
He proved that last night. But this is something that has to get better with Willie Cauley-Stein and with Nerlens Noel. Those are your two big boys. You're going to get fouled down there. And
absolutely, especially late.
Yeah, Vitale said last night, if Cauley-Stein or Noel has the ball when they inbound it, foul him, because you won't see a ball go in the basket.
No, Cauley-Stein was 2 for 4. Mm-hmm. It looked a little bit better than Nerlens Noel.
Yeah.
But, man, there was one free throw in particular that when Nerlens Noel threw it up, I felt like I was watching some kid at the fair trying to shoot against, one of those, weirdly shaped rims.
Just hope it goes in.
And I was just like, good night. What are you doing? It violently ricocheted off the rim.
It was definitely a sight. I think it has to do with the way he's shooting, because he shoots so far away from his body.
Right.
Bring that sucker right in. Throw it over the front rim. You'll make it every time. Trust me, I was a champion in grade school when it came to foul shots. You didn't want to foul me.
No foul. No foul, Steeny Weedy.
do not foul me, because I will make you pay at the charity stripe. There were some things that I thought they could have really improved on last night. Obviously, rebounding, free throw shooting, and I think composure. Because I know this team is young. I get that. It's the first game of the year. You're playing at the Barclays Center in front of Jay-Z, throwing up the rock.
Sure, these are still high school kids, right? Essentially.
Last year, most of those kids are playing in state championship games.
Right, and Nerlens Noel should be a high school senior.
You're right.
So,
will it come with time? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I think, like any basketball writer, like Vitale said, beat this team early.
Right.
Which is why I think Duke might get them.
I totally agree. I was really encouraged though by the block party that was on in the first half in particular, and I think that was maybe the difference. Was first half Kentucky was getting tons of block shots. Nerlens Noel I think had all 3 in the first half, and they had 11 total. And then it felt like Maryland did a lot to avoid putting up wasted shots that were going to get blocked, and then all of a sudden that's when the game changed.
Yeah, another thing that I think that really helped Maryland stay in the game was foul trouble. Within the first 10 minutes, I guess, there were 2 or 3 guys that had 2 fouls.
Right. Alex Poitras needs to figure out a way to not foul. He was reckless on several of those. He
has some moments where I think he could be a Michael Kidd-Gilchrist.
Right.
I really do think. But he has to harness it. And speaking of harnessing, they have to hold on to the ball. When they rebound, grab the ball.
Don't let it. Yeah, when you get one shot at it, make that one shot count.
I guess it's because they've been so tall their whole lives. Willie Cauley-Stein, how many times last night did they say he was a football star? Right. He was a 7-foot football star. You have to grab the ball, because there's dudes that are as tall as you, and they will knock it from your hands. Transitioning, Louisville has a game tonight.
Yeah, well, Sunday.
It was Sunday. I'm sorry.
Sunday in basketball, Louisville plays Syracuse in football at noon on ABC. In that game with Louisville and Manhattan, I'm excited for college basketball to get started.
It's back.
It's back. Louisville should handle this team. They should handle them by 15 points. Okay. But it's great to see Steve Masiello. They have a former graduate assistant that's on the staff over there, and then Mark Jackson Jr. also plays for Manhattan. He won't play very much, but it's exciting because college basketball is getting going again. But I think whatever Louisville fan is looking for is that Battle for Atlantis tournament that starts the week after next, where they have an opportunity to play 4 top 25 teams.
You're right.
In the field. Right now, Kentucky, you should be excited because you just played a Maryland team who went 18-17 in the ACC. The battle tested against your young team. And then on Tuesday, the vaunted hated by everybody.
Blue Devils.
There's nothing in the state that really rallies everybody together like hating Duke. Pretty much. So, like, if you're a Duke Blue Devil and you're in the state of Kentucky, I don't know how you're operating. Yeah. Because everybody hates you. You know what I mean?
It's like that kid in class. You know, everyone. He's loud. He's like a teacher's pet.
It's like everybody hates you.
Yeah.
Go away.
Don't talk. Just drop the class.
Right.
We'll be fine without you. My question is with Louisville, who's gonna be their go-to guy, like their scorer? I think we'll find out maybe in the Manhattan game. I'd like to think it'd probably be Montrezl Harrell.
Well, you know, the great thing about this team, I mean, if you look at the last year's Final Four team, okay, you were weak because you didn't have a backup for Gorgui Dieng, you didn't have a backup for Shane Bohannon, and then you had Chris Smith and Kyle Keurig, who basically stood in place on offense. They're good defenders, terrible offensive players because they didn't create anything. They needed creation to be able to operate. So I think this year when you look at, you know, Russ Smith, who's playing a lot more within the framework of a game plan, and then you look at Luke Hancock, you look at Wayne Blackshear, those three guys together kind of upgrade the position and the basketball team together, and then you look at Shane Bohannon plugged in. Montrezl Harrell, who kind of steps in to be a second power forward. Now you have an offense that can really come from anywhere, and instead last year everything had to go through Siva to a point, and now you got Luke Hancock who can operate as a point forward. You have Wayne Blackshear who can go to the rim. You have Russ Dickulus who can do whatever he wants, and then you got two really good man-childs at the power forward position. Where you're weak, still Gorgui. You know, not that Gorgie's weak, but behind him, what do you do behind Gorgui? If Gorgui ever gets into foul trouble, which he's not prone to do anyway.
Do you slide Bohannon down to the 5?
You'd move Harrell to the 5.
Harrell to the 5.
Yeah, 7'3" wingspan. You know, I mean, I know that they're going to probably use Van Treese in there to kind of get some minutes, and then probably even Zach Price during certain games. But you know, that's kind of what it's going to look like. But those guys won't play a lot of minutes. Gorgie's going to play 34 minutes a game.
So his conditioning is definitely going to have to be in shape, which I'm probably sure it is.
It was, you know, I mean, last year he did that, and I think it really affected him in the March run, you know, playing all those minutes down the stretch. And then he got concussed in the Kentucky game, but, you know, I don't know what that really played a factor in. Anthony Davis dominated that game.
Right. I think what happens for Louisville this year is the defense is going to be there. There's no denying that. Any team coached by Rick Pitino, you're going to have a good defense. The offense, can they do enough to allow their defense to?
Well, they will. I mean, they will. I mean, Peyton Siva is going to be able to get in the lane, find people. They're not going to go over the 3-point line forever.
They were 1 for 19 against.
1 for 19 against Bellarmine, but and I was at Rick Pitino's press conference the other day. And he said, you know, last year we were 1 for 12 against Bellarmine. And so, you know, really it's the same thing. They guard the perimeter against us, but they really didn't. It's just the fact that Louisville missed open shots. So if they miss open shots, I don't believe they're going to take 19 threes in most games.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely not a thing where you look at and you say, oh, well, they're going to have trouble shooting the threes, which might be the case.
It might
be the case. But I mean, if you pound the ball inside, those teams are going to sag down.
They're going to sag down,
and that's going to create the shot outside.
I think they're going to take 10 a game.
10 a game.
That would be my guess.
I will probably go with 15. I mean, there's something about Louisville. I know when Kentucky plays Louisville, there are a ton of threes jacked in that game.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, you know, with Rick Pitino, for some reason, you get a lot of three-pointers, and that's because everybody's got the green light. If you're out there on the floor and you're a three-point shooter and you have an open three, you better put it up because he's going to pull you out of the game. So, you know, but Peyton Siva really kind of will be the engine that makes it to go, and I really like the fact that Hancock and Blackshear and Russ, they all move without the ball really well. So, you know, I'm very encouraged by this team. I don't think we'll have any trouble until they get to the Bahamas. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you're totally right. I think the Louisville team is going to be a team that could make a serious run at the national championship this year. So I mean, it's only It's only a matter of time. It's only the first game of the year. We're already talking about national championship runs. Typical Kentucky fan, right?
Yeah, no, what, I'm a little locked in on the Syracuse football game this afternoon. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm happy to sit here and talk basketball with you, Brad. Absolutely, with basketball season. What about that aircraft carrier game last night?
Are you talking about the one
that didn't happen?
Yeah, the games that got canceled.
Yeah,
it's just not a good idea.
Yeah,
let's play basketball on
a boat.
In the middle of an ocean where there's going to be water, and they canceled the game due to condensation. Where in the planning did they think, it's probably not going to get wet up?
Well, I haven't really been able to read up on this because of the Kentucky and today's football game, so I've been kind of focused elsewhere. But are they going to make up the game?
No, they will not.
So this is just like a game that didn't happen.
This was a game.
We showed
Everyone
up.
got a free trip to a boat, to an aircraft carrier.
Wow, a lot of resources and time, and everything to not get a game in. Those were two pretty good games to be scheduled.
I was really excited to see that Florida Georgetown game.
Yes, that would have been good.
That would have been very good. A Billy Donovan team who last year just came in just firing up threes.
So they don't have a contingency, because where was the game? It was in San Diego. Is that right? I know it was San Diego last year.
I think that was it. Don't quote me on that. If you know, give us a call.
Yeah, if you know, give us a call. But I'm sure there's an arena in San Diego that you could say, okay, the conditions aren't good for this. Let's move the game inside as a contingency.
Yeah,
you're going to move everybody.
I'm sure San Diego State probably has a basketball arena
that
says, come on in.
Well, the NCAA tournament, I know, has been in San Diego a few times. And, they don't have an NBA team, but I'm sure there's an arena where you can host a game.
Yeah, but I do know that the game will probably not be rescheduled.
Okay.
That's what came across the ESPN ticker last night. But yeah, I don't know. I can't wrap my head around it. It's something that it just doesn't make sense. Playing basketball on a hardwood court on the outside. If it was on one of those little green mesh tracks that you find at on the outdoor park with the double rims, then yeah, I'd be cool with that.
Maybe a little inland, like in Las Vegas outside, or like a little inland in San Diego, because it's very dry there. But if you get a little wind,
that
water that's
coming up,
that ends up on the floor.
Yeah.
This is physics, I guess.
We're not forecasters, but we did take science classes.
Yeah, I did take a logic class once. Great job, ESPN. This is another in a long list of great decisions for you.
Genius. Just like the LeBron announcement.
Another great piece of news for the Kentucky fans last night, Shabazz Muhammad.
Yes, how about that? Shabazz Muhammad, if you have not heard, has been ruled academically ineligible.
Well, athletically
ineligible.
Because improper benefits. And we'll see how long this lasts, but can you imagine if he had gone to Kentucky?
This would have been a huge story.
Oh, yeah. It would have dominated last night's news.
We have ESPN right now. It would have probably dominated ESPN the entire night.
Pete Thamel and Pat Forty. It would have been all over.
Says Thamel Toe, all those guys. They would have been all over, just salivating at the mouth. But it didn't happen because it didn't happen in Kentucky.
And it has nothing to do with UCLA either, by the way. It has everything to do with his relationships with agents. But while he was in high school, similar to the way LeBron James was in high school, he took improper benefits and he wasn't able to play in his senior year postseason tournament because his mom was rolling around in a Hummer because she took a loan out on his soon-to-be signed Nike contract.
Rolling around in Hummers with Delonte West.
Yeah, with Delonte, which is a whole other story. It's kind of funny, if you look at Delonte not really able to find himself on a roster.
I know. The last I heard he was with Boston. I don't know where he's at now.
Last I heard he was with Home Depot. So
that may be the case.
He actually did apply during the lockout. Remember last year during the lockout, he applied at Home Depot to be funny.
There was somebody else who applied at a recent the store like that. I don't remember the name. It might have been
It's pretty hilarious.
I know that Mark Cuban did work at one day for Dairy Queen a couple of years ago. That's one of the things. But we have got to get to a break. If you want to, give us a call at 502-384-1450. Shoot us a text on the Lotus Gunworks text line, 502-414-1450. When we come back, we will break down a little bit of the Louisville-Syracuse preview. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz.
You're listening to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Tell us your thoughts on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
fought hard, you and ghosts run forward into battle shouting out Axios!
Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Buzz. My name is Mark Blankenbaker. Adam Taylor, the world-famous producer, is behind the glass for us. He's bringing you that beautiful music. Joined today by Brad Steen. And, Brad, today, University of Louisville, number 9 in the BCS standings, number 10 in the major polls. It will take on a pretty deceptively tough Syracuse team in the Carrier Dome on their senior night.
It's going to be an interesting game. I know Louisville they're expecting to come in to win because if you look, well, Louisville's number 9. That's not always the case. But U of L is only 2.5 point favorite. Why are they getting no respect?
You got to look at Louisville's schedule. They've really done only enough to win all their games. And there's something to be said about doing enough to win, and there's another thing to be saying, play down to your competition. They blew out Temple last week, which was great to see. You didn't like seeing Temple open up the game with a kickoff return and then get into like a mini shootout in the first half.
Was that a game where they needed to blow somebody out and say, okay, we're Louisville, we're serious about making a serious BCS run?
Yes, and if you look, they didn't move in the polls, but the way the BCS standings are put together is based on votes. So they gained a lot of votes in the Harris and coaches poll, even though they didn't move up number wise. That they don't calculate the 9th rated team. They calculate based on your number of votes. So if you're 8, if South Carolina is 8 and Louisville is 9, and there's a 2-point differential, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's minor. You can make it up in another poll or in the computers. But yes, they need to blow people out, and they need to do that again the day if they can. But I don't think they will. This is senior day for Syracuse.
Syracuse is going to be hyped,
and they're fighting for bowl eligibility.
Yeah, they're 4-5. 4-5 this year, and in their 5 losses, they've lost by a combined 40 points. Now, if you look at their schedule, they lost by 1 to Northwestern. Then they lost by 13 to USC. They came back, beat They beat Stony Brook. They lost to Minnesota, which Minnesota's an okay team.
Yeah,
it's not a team where you think that you should blow them out because you're Syracuse.
You would think that if you're a good football team, you'd beat Minnesota.
If we're talking in basketball terms,
right.
Syracuse should blow them out.
But I got deep into this, Brad, and I found out that the left tackle, Justin Pugh, he's all conference, Big East, first team, did not play in Syracuse's first 4 games. And they went 3 of 4. They only beat Stony Brook. Since then, they beat Pittsburgh, lost to a very good Rutgers team, blew out Connecticut, beat South Florida, and then lost to a very good Cincinnati team. So with their stud left tackle protecting their quarterback, Ryan Nassib, who's on there basically on every single career poll or career list passing wise, a really historically great school, Syracuse, where they have Donovan McNabb and they've won national titles there and Heisman trophies, not in a while.
Yeah.
But Ryan Nassib's on the list.
Yeah.
So that should say something. And with that starting left tackle, they are 3-2, but they've lost to 2 really good teams. Now Louisville's a really good team.
Yeah, Louisville is a really good team. As much as it pains me to say that, Louisville is a very good team. This is a game I think Syracuse is going to come out guns blazing because if you look at the rest of their schedule, they have at Missouri, and that's going to be a tough game no matter what you say. I don't care who you say it. Missouri's still a good team. And then they have Temple. So if they were to win today, that would move them to 5-5. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they'll probably lose to Missouri. Then they have at Temple, which I think might get them bowl eligible.
Right, and some more backstory to this. Last year, Syracuse came into Louisville 5-2, fresh off a win over nationally ranked West Virginia, and they proceeded to lose to Louisville, and Louisville pressured them. They gave them probably the most pressure game you'll ever see from a defense. And Syracuse ended up losing their next 7 games and missed a bowl after starting 5-2. So this is a game where they're looking at Louisville again in the way for bowl eligibility. So and they really do have some good pieces. I'm talking about. I already kind of mentioned Ryan Nassib, but their defense. Let's just get real. They have playmakers, but they're not like a really awesomely put together defense, but they do have Shamarko Thomas. Sham Wow is what they call him, and he cleans up from the safety spot.
And he has an orange helmet, so that just helps.
Exactly. Sham Wow with the orange helmet.
Can't think of anything better. Is this a game where Teddy Bridgewater improves his stock in the Heisman candidacy? Because I know you know during the break you and I talked about the Heisman hopefuls, and I guess we could transition to that just a little bit.
He does if they win, but let's get real. I mean, if he gets invited to New York this year, is a huge accomplishment. He's not going to win the Heisman Trophy. The ESPN right now can't even say his name right. They're still calling him Terry, and then when they actually talk about him in the Heisman race, everybody else gets a highlight reel, and then they put up a picture of Teddy. So it's just like, okay, whatever. But no, Syracuse actually has a really good pass defense. They are, they're 40th in the country, which isn't fantastic, but it's solid.
It's enough.
It's enough. Where Louisville's going to run the ball. Syracuse 64th in rush defense.
Yeah, and not to mention Louisville does have Senior East Perry and
Jeremy Wright.
A two-headed monster running back. Wear down that team, air it out.
Yeah, don't give up any mistakes. I mean, one thing that Syracuse does do is they're -5 on the year in turnover margin. So Louisville's not going to do anything to give up anything cheap. They're going to let Syracuse make mistakes. I don't think Teddy's going to throw for 400 yards. I think he's going to be in the 250 range. They'll have a nice game, but Louisville's going to win this game on the ground.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I mean, like I just said, the two-headed rushing attack is really gonna take its toll on Syracuse. I'd like to think Louisville today improves to 10-0 this year. With that being said, if you want, we can talk a little bit about the Heisman, the race, if you would like.
I just don't know who's the winner. Who do we have? Colin Klein?
At the beginning of the year, when my guy was Geno Smith.
Right.
But Geno has gone the complete opposite way with his.
Clearly, he can't win the Heisman.
Yeah, and I guess it comes down to Colin Klein, Ken John Barner, and A.J. McCarron.
No Marquise Lee.
No Marquise Lee.
No, not from USC?
No.
Okay. I couldn't get it back. Start of the year for me, I was thinking it was going to be Matt Barkley because I thought USC could do it. But I even said on this radio show, Lane Kiffin could screw up anything. He could screw up the easiest party, anything. I mean, literally come up with something that is a sure thing. He would screw it up.
And deflate the ball.
Yeah, the Deflategate, which, I was listening on the way in to, Dan Wetzel and Pat Forty on the way in on their WTF show that's on this station right before us. I'm really happy that we get to follow Wetzel and Forty.
Yeah. If you're still listening, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
We're not Dan Wetzel.
Or Pat Forty.
Yeah, we're not those guys.
But anyway, no, I'm sure Lane Kiffin didn't have anything to do with telling that poor student manager to deflate balls. Okay? But that's the story of Lane Kiffin's life, deflate balls.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Honestly, there is not a dirtier person in college football. There's not a more undeserving person in the coaching in the coaching game than Lane Kiffin. He's literally done nothing ever.
And he's been handed the USC job.
And thankfully, Pat Hayden, the athletic director at USC, is probably going to fire him.
You're right.
Because he deserves to be fired. He got fired from Oakland. He did nothing in Oakland, and he got the Tennessee job?
Yeah.
Based on what? He didn't do anything at Tennessee. Kentucky almost beat Tennessee while he was there. And then he gets the USC job? Are these things on? Is nobody paying attention?
He has been handed everything on a silver platter. I don't get it. I never will. But speaking of coaches, the little debacle we have down in Lexington.
Yeah, poor Joker. Poor Kentucky football. Really?
It's been a terrible year to sit there and watch every game and just get their heads beat in.
It is tough. The one thing that you've always been able to count on with Kentucky football isn't that they've been bad. They haven't been.
There's been some moments where when Rich Brooks was coach where they looked a lot better than what they are right now.
Right. The one thing you've been able to count on with Kentucky football is the fact that they will win one game a year that gets everybody super excited, and everybody's like, wow, Where was that all year?
Yeah.
Now we have hope.
Resign Joker.
Right, re-sign Joker. And we almost had that with the Georgia game.
Yeah.
It could have happened.
I mean, it was a game that I really thought they could have pulled off. And
They should have pulled off a couple plays.
That was the game where I think it would have secured their second win. And I said down when we were doing the KFFFC fantasy draft party, I said they go 3-9. So
Right.
I think this year they're probably going to end up 2-10, which makes me smarter than everyone else in here.
Well, I think I was with you on a 3-9 preseason, but I was just thinking about Georgia. They almost beat Georgia.
Right.
The next week they go and beat Florida. So how far away is Kentucky really? Because then you look at it very next week, they're a deflated team, not to play off the USC ball gate.
Oh, I get it.
But but they're really like a mentally down team, because when you lose games one after the next, it really starts to creep in, and then you drop 0-40.
Every mistake when
Right.
you're a team that's 1-9 is magnified. Whether it's a drop ball, whether it's a fumble.
It hurts worse.
I mean, it's brutal. I know, but I know there might be a light at the end of the tunnel at the end of this year, which brings me to my next question. I know the people in Lexington really, really want Bobby Petrino. I'm against it. There's a lot of reasons why. I think one of them is his arrogance. I don't think Mitch Barnhart is the kind of guy that's going to put up with that.
You don't want an arrogant football coach?
On here.
I want an arrogant football coach. Give me an arrogant football coach all day long.
Hold on here. Hold on.
All right.
Before you jump on me.
All right.
I understand that he can coach a team. I understand all that. I don't think he's the guy. He says he's interested. His dad said he was interested. Well, my dad said that I was good at playing peewee football, but that doesn't mean I'm going to go coach a team.
I'm interested in the job.
Well,
I'll do it for half of
Mark Blankenbaker just says that he is available
for Kentucky.
To coach. Barnhart, please reach out to him.
Yes, I'll do it for half a Joker's salary.
But there was a story. There was a story that I saw on Kentucky.com. And it was written by Mark Story, perfect name for a journalist.
Mark Story, yes.
The title was Possible Candidates to Replace Joker Phillips. The first one that he mentioned was Neil Brown. Now, for those of you who don't remember or don't care to know, Neil Brown was a UK or an ex-UK wideout. He lettered in '98 and 2000, and he currently right now coordinates an offense at Texas Tech that is averaging 38 points and 500 yards a game. It has been said that he might be the top go-getter.
I'm with you on the whole Bobby thing, Petrino thing, and this Neil Brown guy. He sounds great. My guy's Cliff Kingsbury.
Why?
I like Kingsbury because he's 33 years old. His wife is smoking hot.
Bring him to Lexington then. Bring him now.
He has a great resume, honestly, like start to finish. New England Patriots. Going to he's at A&M right now. He's at Houston. He's part of the Hal Mummy family tree.
Yeah.
He was from Mike Leach, Kevin Sumlin. Now we're here. I think he's a young and energetic. I think Kentucky could get him on a cheap. I think his staff would also be cheap, and I think they would be instantly competitive, and they would also be energized. You have quarterbacks in place and playmakers in place for the air raid style offense.
Well, Joker has also, or I'm sorry, not Joker, but Mitch has said money's not going to be an issue if he gets approval from the
board.
The board,
right?
I think they need to also upgrade their facilities. But he said, if he gets money, that he will upgrade the facilities and he will try, and I quote, be the highest paid coach in college football. For what? Wait, what?
What? Okay, well, if that's who you're going for, then we don't need to hire Neil Brown and pay him that type of money, because there's no way Neil Brown is worth more than Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Right? You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's no sense in wasting money just to say, oh, look, here we are.
I guess if there was somebody who I want to see, because my guy Rich Rod won't come. He's on a golf course right now in Arizona, but my guy is Dirk Cutter.
Oh yeah, that would be interesting.
He's the Falcons' offensive coordinator.
Still not worth highest paid college football coach.
Yes, that is true, but he does have college experience. He was at Boise State where he was 26-10. Kind of had a fallout year at Arizona State. He finished up 40-34, and now he's the offense. He was a coordinator with the Jaguars, and now he's the offensive coordinator of the 8-0 Atlanta Falcons. The problem with that is trying to convince him, hey, I right here, hey, I understand the fact that your Falcons are 8-0, but we've got a 1-9 college football team. Why don't you come take over that?
Because like he's not going to leave when they're on a Super Bowl run.
Yeah.
And signing day happens shortly thereafter the Super Bowl. And he wouldn't have enough time to really get it. I mean, what offensive coordinator in the NFL is going to take his eyes off the prize of a Super Bowl?
Right.
For a college 1-9 SEC, traditionally bottom basement in the
laughing
SEC
stock
East.
of the SEC.
Right. So that's a challenge. My thing is Rex Ryan, Rob Ryan. I know Buddy Ryan. He lives in Carroll County, I believe. He owns a horse farm. Something like that.
I don't think Rex would come.
And his mother's in bad health.
Yeah.
And she's in a nursing home nearby. I think it's interesting to think about that because that would also be very exciting. People would sell tickets. He would sell tickets just by standing up in front and doing press conferences.
We're gonna win the national championship.
Yeah, we're gonna win the Super Bowl at the UK.
All right.
You know what I mean? I mean, he says that every year with the Jets, but I think it's a good angle to maybe say, hey, look, the Ryan brothers, maybe they want to be next to the family and do something together because the Jets aren't working out.
What about Charlie Strong?
What about him?
I had to ask it because you're wearing a Louisville. Would he want to come to Kentucky? No, I'm kidding.
No.
I don't think that would ever happen.
No, but what was interesting, though, we're talking about coaching rumors and Bobby Petrino is I don't believe that Bobby Petrino will go to Kentucky. I understand that he's interested. I think he's using that as leverage.
His dad said he was interested.
Right. What his dad said.
And UK said
we're
not interested.
Right now, Bobby's daughter plays golf at U of L. She's a sophomore golfer at U of L, and given what has happened at Arkansas, I just don't see him putting his family through any more unnecessary strife. And not that Louisville, honestly, I don't think Louisville fans would be all that upset if Petrino ended up at Kentucky. I think
there's going to be a lot. Well, you had to get our hand-me-down.
Yeah, you would get
our hand-me-down for Rick Pitino.
You would get some really ignorant fans that would say that. But at the same time, you understand that this is Bobby Petrino. He needs to, resurrect his image. He has very good ties to the state of Kentucky. His kids live here. So the Louisville job's not open.
Yeah.
But I did think that it was interesting that Auburn came out and said that they are looking at Sean Watson as their next head coach, as opposed to going after Charlie Strong, who once again getting passed over by an SEC school. But I ultimately think that that's where Bobby Petrino will end up
at Auburn.
They've flirted for years,
and that's another thing that I think Petrino would never come to Kentucky. You put yourself in Petrino's shoes. He's saying, "Oh, I'll come to Kentucky," but do you really think with the possibility of Auburn and Tennessee opening up at the end of the year, do you really think he's going to come to Kentucky?
I think he's just trying. I think his dad was just trying to get his name out there,
right?
And I do think that there is some truth to the fact that if a team came to Bobby Petrino and said, "Hey, look, we want you," right now, he might actually take it. He might actually take the first BCS level job offered to him just because he needs to get started on working on restoring the Bobby Petrino brand. We need to take a break. Give us a call, 384-1450, or give us a text on Lotus Gunworks text line, 414-1450. We'll be back after this.
This is the Weekend Sports Buzz. Let us know what you think. Give us a call on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Buzz. I am Brad Steen, filling in for Tyler Bloyd, who is somewhere in the woods
with a rifle
alongside Mark Blankenbaker. We have had a good talk the first 50 minutes of the show. Forgot to mention Dave Spelker of Bike Magazine will be joining in at about 10:20. We'll talk a little high school sports with Dave.
And also Sean Williams, TopperTalk.com.
Sean Williams will also be joining us with about 20 minutes left in the show. We'll talk a little Western Kentucky for anybody that
should be awesome.
Hilltopper fan passing through. Thanks for tuning in on your Saturday morning. I'm sure you're getting up, just pouring that first cup of coffee.
We need to ask Sean if he's interested in or if he thinks Willie Taggart might be interested in the in the Kentucky job.
Yeah, it's something that I don't think he would. I don't think he would be interested. Maybe another year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if Kentucky was better this year than just 1-9, and Western stayed the same for next year, and Kentucky got progressively worse next year, I think you could make the case. But
I just don't. I think Willie's going to have some better opportunities.
He'll definitely have some better opportunities, and he's coming in to the SEC next year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can just go from going to the Sun Belt to playing Alabama next year, because that's actually who Kentucky plays.
Right. It doesn't actually, translate that well. I mean, it could happen.
Yeah.
But, definitely not necessarily. You had another candidate right before the break.
Yeah. There's a guy that's been floated around in Lexington. Apparently, Daryl Hazel, the head coach of Kent State. Now, some of you all are probably thinking, Kent State, we beat the hell out of them. Well, we did, but that's actually turned out to be their only loss of the season.
They beat Rutgers.
They beat Rutgers, which is a pretty
great
significant win.
Picked off Gary Nova 6 times in that game.
That would, would Kentucky fans be interested? I don't know.
Well, the thing is that he would be a good football coach.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's no doubt about that. But the question is, does it re-energize the fan base? Because that's what Mitch Barnhart needs. Mm-hmm. Similar to the Gillespie to Calipari hire, he needs something that's going to sell tickets, because you can't have 18,000 people at a game like you did last week and sustain your athletic department, because you rely on those seats sold, concessions, apparel, all that money to fund volleyball, and all the other sports.
And you're exactly right. Say what you want about how bad the football team is. Your football team is your moneymaker when it comes to the SEC. And speaking of fans, I know Mitch Barnhart had some few choice words that kind of bothered me, not only as a fan, but for someone who covers the team. Barnhart, on the pregame show, I think it was before the Vanderbilt game, he addressed the low attendance by thanking the quote-unquote real fans for coming to the game, and said those who are critical of Joker must have a quote-unquote personal agenda. Wait, what? You're expecting fans to show up 60,000 strong to a team that's 1-9 and has looked absolutely pathetic.
Right. And so what personal agenda do you think Barnhart was insinuating?
I mean,
do you think it was because he's black?
No.
Do you think it's just because?
I don't think racism has anything, or race has to do with anything. But what do you mean by that, Mitch? What do you mean personal agenda? Are you saying
that's what I'm worried about?
I mean, by thinking the real fans? No, the real fans, we want to be there. I mean, talking with people at the tailgates that I've been to, they just give us a competitive football team. Give us a team that's going to be 6-6, 7-5. Doesn't bother me. People are going to show up. Ask the bars in Nashville. Ask the hotels in Nashville. We're fine with the Music City Bowl.
Right.
We're not going to win the BCS.
That's true.
I mean, so just
but as a fan, there's a lot of avenues that you can take to protest. One of them is to not show up. You can email the athletic director. You can not buy tickets. You could boo. You could not show up.
And they've actually probably done all that. I don't know if
I'm sure it has. But you know what? It's just one of those things where the fan base has lost interest in football. Mm-hmm. Maybe that has something to do with the great success of the basketball program. Mm-hmm. But if not, if Kentucky was 6-6 at the end of this year, Joker Phil still have a job. There would be 60,000 people at those games.
I'd be happy.
And everybody would be happy, because they'd be like, you know what? This was a really young team, and it was 6-6. Yeah. Great. So
it shows. I mean, but I'm
blowing my head at a loss for words. Mitch Barnhart needs to hire somebody, a big name, or somebody that's going to be fiery, and that will give people a reason to go to the game.
You're exactly right. But
yeah, Louisville and Syracuse, noon on ABC. It's a huge game. I can't sit here and sit still, to be honest.
Really, I've noticed you've been kind of just
antsy.
Just kind of antsy. What makes you so nervous? Are you nervous for that?
Well,
game?
Okay. I've seen Louisville play down their competition. When is somebody going to play their best game against the Cards and take them down? You know what I mean? It seems like there's been a lot of even in the Pittsburgh game where they really handled them, Pitt had a couple opportunities and they blew them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So Temple didn't have a passing game. They didn't have a chance against Louisville. Let's talk about Syracuse. They can throw the ball. They can run the ball. They can play good defense. This is a game Louisville could lose.
You're right.
So I'm nervous.
And I mean, if they were to win, if you look at the rest of Louisville's schedule, they have Connecticut and Rutgers. Out of these three teams, who do you think might be the team that could possibly knock off
the Cards? I mean, obviously the Rutgers game. I mean, I'm traveling in New Jersey with my dad. We're gonna go and we'll be there if Louisville can clinch the title. The great thing about this game, though, against Syracuse is that if Louisville does lose, the game against Rutgers is still huge for a BCS championship or a BCS title or game, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Anyway, but then you go into Rutgers. The only problem is that now you're not in the top 10. So that's really what this game is for. Building towards the top 10s, because this year is all about next year.
Right.
Because no Louisville fan worth his salt really has any inclination of getting in the top 2 and playing the national championship game.
Right.
But you know that you only lose 8 seniors from this year to next year, and if you can finish in the top 10, you can start in the top 10, and if you do well in the BCS game that you go to, whether it's Kansas State, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, or Florida State, you can, if you play well in that game or win that game, now you are really firmly established as a contender to start the year. On the other side of that, the BCS it will be going away after 2013, and in 2014 they'll be going to a 4-team playoff for 2014. Getting in the top 4 is huge. Being able to get into the top 4 from the Big East would be a huge win.
And getting into the top 4 would also add a lot more pressure to every single game. You can't lose because that number 5 team is going to keep on pushing. You're like, hey, we're still here. And speaking of BCS bowl projections, John Hancock wrote a pretty interesting story. CBS Sports actually projected Louisville to go to the Orange Bowl to face Florida State. Is that something that you would think would be a...
That's the most likely scenario. I know that if Louisiana Tech or Kent State even can get into the top 16, then that would be their destination in the Orange Bowl. And then Louisville would be more likely for Fiesta or Sugar. I'm actually thinking the Fiesta Bowl might actually want a Louisville team if the Rose Bowl selects Notre Dame.
Right.
It could be like Notre Dame, Wisconsin, or Nebraska, and then Kansas State would need a game. They wouldn't select Oklahoma for Fiesta Bowl because K-State's a Big 12 team. They wouldn't match them together.
Yeah.
So it might be really interesting for the Fiesta Bowl to take 2 undefeated teams, put them together for their bowl.
Would it be out of the realm of possibility that maybe you could play Notre Dame?
That would be a longer shot because Notre Dame does not have an automatic berth into a bowl.
Yeah.
So Louisville and Notre Dame would both be at-larges. So the chances of 2 at-larges meeting in a bowl really slim. It could happen if the Sugar Bowl, for example, decides to take a Notre Dame over an SEC school, which would be weird.
Dumb.
Which would be weird because you're going to sell a ton of tickets if it's Florida, LSU. You know what I mean?
And it's played. The Sugar Bowl is played in New Orleans. So I mean, even if you were to take like an LSU or name your SEC school, they're going to travel. They're going to be there. They're going to spend money down at Bourbon Street.
Notre Dame would play in the Sugar Bowl against an SEC team.
Right.
Notre Dame would play in the Fiesta Bowl against a Big 12 team. But there's very few scenarios where Louisville and Notre Dame could actually meet in a bowl game.
It'd be crazy
until Notre Dame joins the ACC full time, which is probably a decade away.
Yeah.
So
I mean, especially when Notre Dame, just rakes in money from their football program.
Exactly.
And they're independent. You make your own schedule. I don't have a crime with that.
And this year is not helping them join a conference because they're having huge television ratings on NBC. There's no.
Well, I mean, Notre Dame football is I guess Notre Dame football is back. Brian Kelly is
the bomb. I've said that when he was at Cincinnati.
Oh yeah,
he's an amazing football coach. And last year when they were talking about like getting rid of him and stuff, I'm like, that's dumb.
Why?
Just give him a little bit more time. Yeah. They had a student manager die. Yeah. Right in front of the entire football team. Okay, yeah, they're a little emotional. I get it. Yeah. He's not having student managers deflate balls.
Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, I mean, but Brian Kelly earns what he gets. Lane Kiffin rides on people's coattails.
You're exactly right. Talking about Louisville tomorrow, or I'm sorry, Sunday. My days
Yes. Well, there's just so much packed into this little 72-hour stretch that it's confusing.
There's a lot happening in the Bluegrass State. Manhattan.
Yep.
When it comes to Louisville basketball, we're switching gears, obviously.
Yeah.
How important will I can't think if it's Russ or Chris. How important will they play? Will they have? I can't think of it.
Russ.
I can't think of it. I can't spit it out. But maybe you can help.
How big of a contribution will Russ Smith give?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be big because he's going to be Peyton Siva's backup at the point guard position, but he's also going to start at the 2.
Right.
So you got Russ, and Russ can do basically whatever Russ wants. It's just a matter of whether or not it works. That's always Russ's issue.
Well, I guess a better question is will Peyton Siva have a better year than he did last year?
Yes, his ankle is fully healthy. He played on basically one leg until mid-March, and when it finally got healthy. The great thing about Siva and Russ Smith in the backcourt together is that they are terrors when it comes to defending on the ball. Like when we run our press with Peyton and Russ at the top, good luck getting the ball up the floor. Literally, that's why we were able to come back against Florida, because of that ball pressure. That's why we were able to make the Final Four at all and win the Big East, is because Pitino would put Russ and Siva in the game together. Both are great at creating steals. I mean, Russ was number 1 in the country in steals last year, playing like 20 minutes a game. Okay, what's he going to do if he plays 30 minutes a game?
Double.
Still going to be number 1. All right, so that's the whole mentality. It's going to be big, high pressure basketball.
Will this year's Louisville team beat Kentucky?
I think so.
I know it's a little early to already start talking about that. We're only a game into the season.
I know. I mean, I've seen Louisville play 2 exhibitions. I've seen Kentucky play 1 game. And, we'll know a whole lot more when we actually get to that game.
Right.
But if you're asking me on November 10th,
yeah,
and you're asking me to project something that's going to happen on December 29th,
yeah,
then I have to say that Louisville would win. They're more experienced. They have been through the battles. Kentucky still kind of looks like they have some high school elements to their game. There's some things to really brush up on now. John Calipari's going to have that team ready.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can believe it.
Oh, yeah.
That team is going to develop, and they're going to blossom like a puppy. You know what I mean?
Blossom like a puppy instead of maybe blossom like a flower. Maybe
no, like a puppy.
Like a puppy.
Because I just got a puppy and I've been watching them grow. It's like freaking amazing. I'm like,
and it blossomed.
I'm like, I'm not even feeding you this much food. How are you growing?
It didn't grow. It blossomed.
It blossomed. Exactly. So we're gonna see Kentucky really come together. I mean, you look at last year's Kentucky team. They didn't play these tough games early. So now they're gonna play these tough games early. So I got to figure that they're going to cut their teeth a little early, and they're going to take these bumps, and they're going to be even better for it. Do I think that this team is going to be as good as last year? I don't. I don't think that there's an Anthony Davis or Michael Gilchrist on this team, and I also don't feel like Ryan Harrow is even on the same stratosphere as Marcus Teague. I think they're going to be very good, and more. And Kentucky's going to have a lot of close games like that last night, and it's all going to come down to execution at the end, which is why that free throw shooting is so bothersome.
Yeah, that's why it bothers me.
Yeah,
because I know this team is so young that they're going to rely on free throws down the stretch. And this team is young. They're going to learn. Beat them now because it won't happen.
Right.
Same
thing that happened last year, honestly, because football and basketball are 2 totally different seasons. Football is a very short season. Basketball is long. You look at last year, coming out of the Belk Bowl, Tom O'Brien, NC State's head coach, was in the press conference. He said, people won't want to play this team next year. And I think that's the same sort of thing from Louisville football. Last year, a very young team to now a very mature team to go into Kentucky basketball. Right now, you want to play them because you can beat them. Later on in the season, it's going to be a chore. We have to go to another break.
We do. So
the world greatest producer behind the glass, Adam Taylor's telling me to go to a break. So we're going to get to that. And on the other side, 2:20, we're going to have Dave Spelkler from Vibe Magazine and also Sean Williams of TopperTalk.com at 10:40. And we'll be back after this.
Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Let us know what you think. Give us a call on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Buzz. I'm Mark Blankenbaker with CardsandCats.com, joined by Brad Steen, KentuckySports.co. We're doing a little radio show. Tyler Bloyd is out today, and he's doing a little hunting for Bambi.
Yeah.
A little venison for his plate.
I should have gave him a PETA shirt or something.
Yeah. he's wearing something bright orange, hopefully. Otherwise, Brad will be here permanently.
Yeah. We've had a good first hour, 10 minutes talking. I want to get into maybe a little random news. This will be a short segment as Dave Spelker will be joining us in about 10 minutes. First things first, I want to give a shout out to my former professor over at NKU, Ryan Clark. He wrote a book. It's called 100 Things Kentucky Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die. I just got the book yesterday. I started reading it. It's an excellent book. Even if you're not a Kentucky fan, I would definitely suggest it.
I'm gonna need to get a copy for sure. I mean, I saw it on the websites, and I was like, man, I need to pick it up.
It's definitely a good book. It's 1 through 100. It is very up to date. They do have Anthony Davis in there. I'm not gonna tell you where he's at, but I do know. I don't want to give away a lot, but obviously the number one guy in there is Adolph Rupp, which is absolutely shocking.
Right.
Yeah, moving on, a couple more random news. Actually, you can pick that book up at Amazon.com, your local book sale or bookstore. They're also down at the Kentucky State Book Fair, giving away autographed copies of the book.
Well, I'll be at the Kentucky State Book Fair.
Well, I will be too. I will not be watching football today or anything.
At all.
But yeah, as I stated earlier in the beginning of the program, this morning started the opening of the modern rifle gun hunting season for Kentucky, which is where Tyler is at right now. UK and WKYT hosted a Hurricane Sandy telethon on Wednesday. Apparently there was a pretty good turnout as they they presented a check before the game, $1 million.
Very good. That's amazing.
That is amazing. Just think, it's one state. It's $1 million.
Yeah, one school in one state
giving $1 million
to the hurricane relief.
The hurricane people.
Which that was a terrible storm. I mean, my dad's actually in Boston right now, and they had snow on top of it. This week. It's unbelievable.
It's almost like watching Day After Tomorrow.
A little bit.
Seen that movie?
Yeah, because they even had an earthquake.
Yeah,
it was almost more 2012ish.
Yeah.
Than Day After Tomorrow, even because they have earthquakes, hurricane, snowstorm. I'm just like
wait, hold on.
And
you're getting all your seasons in a week.
It's like Louisville football, but in New York.
Get on the train.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting story that happened yesterday. Mike Brown. No, not that Mike Brown, Cincinnati.
Oh
Bengals
yeah.
Fans. Not that Mike Brown, Cincinnati Bengals fans. Just hold on. That'll never happen. But Mike Brown, after in just his second season as head coach of the Lakers.
In 5 games only.
In 5 games.
A season in 5 games there, Mike.
A season in 5 games was fired.
Thanks for getting this team ready for preseason.
I guess the Kobe death stare does more than just...
you're 0 for 7 or 8 in preseason. I know they went 0 for, I don't know what the number was.
They were 0 and 8 in preseason.
And then they're 1 for 4.
1 and 4. So overall, they're 1 and 12.
I know, it's just bad. I mean, it's just terrible. And they have Steve Nash, Kobe Bryant.
I thought this year,
Paul Gasol, Dwight Howard. That's an all-star team.
I thought this year they were going to be a very good team.
I did too.
But I didn't know how Steve Nash would respond to the head coaching style.
Is it possible that Steve Nash might be kind of past his time?
I don't think so. I think he's a guy that's going to get his assists.
Well, he's Canadian, so he could be moody.
He could be moody.
Okay.
You're right. Just sitting in the locker room listening to Rush.
Yeah, Rush, and he puts his feet on ice so he feels like he's at home. Those guys can be moody.
But according to ESPN, sources have said that Phil Jackson is interested in returning to the Lake Show.
His wife or long-term girlfriend, Jenny Buss, is the daughter of owner Jerry Buss.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a good personal relationship. He lives in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he would want to do it for the next season, but he might do it this year just to kind of help out the fam.
Yeah, maybe so. I'm obviously not a fan of the Lakers, but I think maybe I think you might get a little more potential out of Steve Nash.
Definitely.
With that triangle offense.
You got Pau Gasol, Kobe Bryant,
yeah.
Dwight Howard's sitting right there, okay?
If I'm the head coach of that team, I'm dunking it into the Gasol, Howard.
Yeah.
Make them.
Because Kobe should have so much space to shoot.
Yeah.
There's no way he's getting double teamed. There's no way he's gonna have room to drive. He's gonna have room to do anything he wants to do.
Yeah.
Why isn't the ball going through Kobe?
You would think with one of the greatest players in basketball
history,
the ball would be going through that guy.
I mean, I know he's getting older, but let's be real. I mean, this is one of the best NBA players of all time. He could still ball. He works incredibly hard.
Mm-hmm. He's still got it, and listening to him just talking to the media, it sounds like he got really tired of Mike Brown, even though he won't admit it.
So it's the second superstar to run Mike Brown out of a job. LeBron James did it at Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And we got Tyler on the line.
Oh no!
Hey Tyler, how's it going?
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
Hey, have you found dinner for us yet?
No, I'm not. We're done with the morning hunt, and get a little food in the stomach and go back out. And it's been a great day, though.
So you mean to tell me you got up at 4:30 to look for deer, and there was nothing out there?
There was some doe. So I'm not shooting the doe. I'm a big guy. So I'm going for the big. You know how it is, big deer. But I just wanted to call quickly. I know Dave's coming up. I'm obviously in the middle of the woods. I got up. I woke up, and Jared Polson won the games. Can I get an update?
Yeah, Jared Polson is your MVP this morning. He scrapped around. He's UK's third leading scorer in the 2012-2013 season, hoping to guide the Cats back to a second national title in a row. But no, he played out of his mind last night. It was a surprise. I didn't even think he would play. Brad, what do you think, man?
The way he played last night made me believe that Calipari, this is my belief that Calipari, if he develops into a pretty good player, then that just goes to show that Calipari can coach anything.
It made me believe I could run for president, Tyler.
That would, you definitely could run for president without even that. But I know that's coming up. I just want to figure out how Kentucky won, because I know they were dominated at halftime. I didn't hear anything like that. I'm kind of nervous. I might lose my spot. Brad's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. He's actually, he's well researched, and he's in here and he's bringing some energy.
I'm pretending I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I'm filling the gas.
Well, y'all have a good morning, and I'll be talking to you when I get back.
All right, bring us back some meat.
All right.
So he asked, how did Kentucky win last night? Kentucky won by putting the ball in the basket more.
Yes, they scored 3 additional points than Maryland did, and that was the difference in the ball game.
I guess that when time came, they clamped down when they needed to. There were times where even with about a minute and a half to go, they were still trying to grab for the ball, and just Maryland kept fighting and winning
the ball,
the loose ball. But I guess when it came down to it, defense ended up winning the game.
Yeah.
So did Jared Polson.
And the offensive and defensive rotation and between possessions really did a lot. And that was Calipari. Mm-hmm. Taking out Cauley-Stein and Noel on defense, so that they couldn't pull down a board, and get fouled. That really made a big difference in the game, in my personal opinion. So
yeah, I think what we saw last night was kind of interesting from Nerlens Noel. I thought he was going to be a little bit better offensively, but Adam is telling us that we have to get to a break. When we come back, Dave Spelker will be on the line, and we will talk a little bit about high school sports. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz.
It's the Weekend Sports Buzz. Tell us your thoughts on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
This is the Weekend Sports Buzz alongside Mark Blankenbaker of CardsandCats.com.
What is Adam doing?
I am Brad Steen. Dude, The first minute I heard that piano come on, I'm thinking, no, this is not Two Girls, One Cup.
Oh,
no.
Good thing this is a radio channel.
I know.
Adam has some interesting selections most times, and that wasn't one of them.
Yeah, for a minute, I kind of was like, is this a sign? Like, it sounded like sad piano music.
He's going from world's greatest producer to regional greatest producer.
Like, we'll give you a C on that song.
That's okay. We were really expecting Beastie Boys,
Yeah, but that's
something
cool.
along those lines to really get us fired up, Adam. So.
Yeah, I'm supposed to get all amped for that. But speaking of getting amped, we are still waiting on Dave Spelker to give us a call in. He is currently at a
bowling tournament at Dixie Bowl, so we're not going to be surprised if he can't come and fill us in on some high school football playoffs. But
that is totally understandable.
Yeah, totally understandable if he can't make it in. Appreciate that every day, every week. So
there are some games other than Louisville today.
No way. There's somebody other than Louisville's
I
playing
know.
today?
I can't imagine. I don't know who else outside of the Bluegrass plays football.
I don't think so.
I do want to bring up an interesting point. This is the first week since last week that Kentucky.
It's the first week since last week
since that Kentucky will not lose a game.
Oh, it is because they are off. And they should win next week. Against Samford.
They should.
Samford closes out their FCS schedule today, and then they play a game that absolutely means zero to them before. I don't know if they're in the FCS title hunt or anything like that, if they won their conference. If they aren't going to go to the playoffs, their season's over. So what are they even playing for?
Yeah. Don't show up. Just forfeit. Give us the win. Make us look even better.
But if they are in the playoff hunt, the game still means nothing. So are they going to play their starters against Kentucky?
I don't know.
Risk injury?
Would you? I mean,
when he had a title to go in, I don't know what their standings, what they are in the standings or anything. I should have looked it up.
While we're talking, I will look up Samford football.
Their schedule,
and results.
FCS, whatever colonial thing that they're in. Well, the big game today is Texas A&M and Alabama.
That is a very big game.
3:30 on CBS. I actually think this game could be
closer,
pretty entertaining. Yes,
you think it'll be closer than what a lot of the national pundits are saying?
I don't know what the spread is, but because I don't pay attention to that. But like A&M and Alabama, I think A&M can run with them a little bit. I mean, I saw the type of passing performance that Zach Mettenberger did on the Tide last week from LSU. Mettenberger's been a bad quarterback all year long, so maybe there's a little weakness in the secondary.
So you think Johnny Football will give Alabama?
Johnny Football, if there's anybody that's going to play well against the Alabama defense, it's going to be a run, pass, throw, kind of guy like Johnny Football. So I'm really looking at that game.
It's definitely gonna be an interesting one to watch. I know when I get back home that I will probably turn that on.
Right.
Looking at the ESPN schedule that they have of all the games going on, you've got Arkansas at South Carolina. This is the first game.
That could be interesting.
It could be, but would it be?
But will it be? Yeah, that's the thing. Is if Arkansas looks like they did against the Cats a couple months ago maybe.
Yeah.
Then that could be a ball game.
Oh yeah.
South Carolina,
they lost Marcus Lattimore for the year.
Yep.
That was their heart and soul for the team.
Arkansas's healthy. Tyler Wilson's back and concussion free, and it seems like Arkansas has regrouped since their early season problems.
I like South Carolina because it's at South Carolina. Also at the 12 o'clock hour, you've got Louisville and Syracuse. I would like to say Louisville would win.
Cards need to win that game. There's no question about it, man. To keep the excitement level going, keep the party going here in Louisville.
10-0 way to go.
10-0. They've never been 10-0. They've never been 9-0. They're 9-0 now. It's the first time ever.
I'll say this. It's a fun year to be a Louisville Cardinal fan.
Yes.
You've got a team coming just off the Final Four. They're expected, especially Dick Vitale. He said Louisville might win the national championship this year. It's a fun time to be a Cardinal fan.
It is. And we have Dave Spelkler from Vite Magazine on the line.
Dave, how are you?
Hey, guys. It's a fun time to be a high school sports fan, too, let me tell you.
Yes, it is. The football playoffs started last night. St. X, Trinity, PRP, they rolled. Tell us about those.
We had, the teams that we kind of penciled in to roll did roll. I was impressed by some of the comebacks last night. I don't know if you've had a chance to scan the papers this morning, but like DeSales was down to Cal, came back and won.
Wow.
And I hate seeing this one. Cal was up 9-0, and DeSales came back and scored 21 points, I think, in the second half to win that. That was an upset.
Yeah, it took out Stephon LaForce.
My heart goes out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry?
I was just saying that's Stephon LaForce's Cal team.
It is, and Cal had pretty much owned them over the recent games, but the Colts put it together last night and got the win. But I was going to talk about Charlestown. My gosh, they had a huge lead, and I'd have to. I think that game is going to be on delayed sometime today. I'd love to watch that and just see what happened. I mean, the score was ridiculous. It was like 56-49 or something like that, and they lost. But they had a huge lead in that game at halftime.
That's got to be the worst.
I hate to see that season. Yeah, that season was a great season for those for the Pirates, and I'm sorry it came to an end, but I don't know what happened there.
Dave, you
that
are.
Certainly sets up.
I'm sorry, Dave. You are at the. You're actually live at Dixie Bowl for a major bowling tournament sponsored by Vibe. Can you explain to some of the listeners about that?
Sure. Actually, I'm en route to that. So I apologize if the sound's not so great this morning. I'm on my cell, but headed to Dixie Bowl. We've got 32 teams coming in this morning for our Vipe preseason bowling tournament, and that's going to include most all of the better bowlers in this area. We're going to have PRP and Manual there, and I know St. X and Trinity, and a lot of new teams this year have picked up the sport of bowling, which is wonderful. So we're going to have a good time out there today, and we'll have I'll tell you who takes the crowns home next time I speak with you. But it'll be fun. Cafe Press is going to be there with us, and we'll have giveaways. And so if you're in that area and just want to experience a really fun time, these crowds are amazing at bowling events. I'm blown away every time I go to one of these.
Now, you mentioned champions. I know that the soccer state champions and volleyball state champions were from last week. Unfortunately, my alma mater of St. Henry District High School got knocked out pretty early to Notre Dame, who ended up losing to Mercy. I believe it was Assumption that won it all this year. Can you explain a little more about that?
Sure. Notre Dame and Mercy, and I believe a semifinal battle, had a 5-set match that was, could have gone either way. But the Jaguars did advance to play Assumption, who's ranked like in the top 3 in the nation, and they had enough gas. Mercy did left in them to give Assumption a great match, and in 5 games, Assumption did take home the state crown. So, congrats to the Rockets, Coach Cordes, and Assumption had a great season, but no shame certainly for the Jaguars to hang with them to the very end.
Oh, without a doubt,
then soccer.
As I was saying, without a doubt in my mind, there's going to some of my sisters and volleyball games, watching whenever they played Assumption, watching them, it's like watching a college team. The Assumption's a very good team. I know that much. Dave, can you talk to us a little bit about the soccer state championship and what happened there?
Soccer state, yes. St. X, I'm going to spoiler alert. St. X won it. We kind of expected that. They have a non-losing streak that is incredible. I think they finished the season with only 2 ties, no losses. The last 11 games I believe they played were shutouts. The state championship game must have been against Paul Dunbar, which was played on Dunbar's home field. Must have just been a defensive masterpiece. Only 3 shots the entire game. 2 by St. X, 1 by Paul Dunbar, and obviously 1 for the Tigers went in. So, a lot of people say, oh, man, soccer's boring, 1-0 scores. Well, there's a lot to be said for a match where that grade of defense is played on both ends of the field. So, the Tigers took home the crown, and, they've got pretty much of a dynasty going. I think that's 4 out of the last 5 years for them, and like 14 state titles overall.
Right, and Dave, going back to some high school football last night, St. X did a great job, really killed Mail last night. Mike Glazer, in his last year as the head coach at St. X, are they going to go on an inspired run and maybe make a run at the title?
Well, if Trinity's to lose, my prediction is it would be next week. And I don't think there's really another team around that can match up on both sides of the ball with Trinity. St. X has implemented some new twists since their loss to Trinity a few weeks ago. They're playing very well. The passing game has picked up, and that's what they need to do. Some mixing it up. If they just come out and run the ball, Trinity will prevail easily, I think. So they've got to have that passing game, and they sure showed it last night. Now, on the other end of the coin, I did go to the Trinity-Madison Central game. Trinity played their best game all year last night. They were firing on all cylinders, and if they continue to play at that level, then I don't know that St. X can hang with them. It was very impressive last night by the Shamrocks.
Yeah, I was actually looking up that score. Trinity smoked Madison Central last night. I guess I got to keep it local for me. Simon Kenton is still in the race. They play Scott County. That's the closest to football since my high school days.
For you,
yeah. Do you think Simon Kenton can make a serious run now that they're getting closer to the state championships?
Well, Simon Kenton, in my opinion, now they had sort of a soft schedule, but they can play well and they can play inspired for one game. But Scott County, it seems like every year they're battle hardened and just ready. So I would have to pick Scott County, but I would not be surprised at all if SK pulled that upset. That'll be a really good game to watch.
Dave, before we let you go, I've kind of been wondering. I know that you all do great stories on Vipe Magazine about just a whole breadth of things from college or from high school football to basketball to volleyball to field hockey. You have a senior field hockey player of your own. Has she made her college decision yet?
She has not. She's still looking at 3, and it's really a fun time in a young person's life. And I hope all the parents out there who are going through this are relishing the time and not stressing over the time.
Right.
It's so neat to have a young athlete, student athlete who is wanted and is recruited, and it's just a really neat time. And certainly there's a lot of rules and regulations to it all. And Vipe tries to help parents and players with some of those. So know what you're doing, but certainly enjoy the time because it only comes around once in a young person's life, and it's fantastic.
Absolutely, Dave Spelkler of Vipe Magazine. They do really great stories around the state and the area here, and you can pick them up all over the place. At libraries, Kroger. I mean, basically everywhere, right, Dave?
Yeah, a lot of mom and pop shops. We're in Dick's Sporting Goods, Hibbett's Sporting Goods. You mentioned Kroger's is probably the biggest. We deliver to all the schools, so certainly somewhere at your child's school they've got them. They stash them in different places at different schools. But yeah, we're out there, and if you can't find one, call me. I'll mail you one. So we want everybody in on the action. One last thing, real quick. I had a chance yesterday to go to Trinity for the ceremony with the U.S. Army All-American Bowl.
Right.
And they were there, and that was very neat. The U.S. Army does this right. They were there, and you may have heard they've invited James Click and Jason Hatcher to play in that January 5th game in San Antonio. And Coach Beatty actually is going to be the head coach for the East squad. So that's pretty cool to have a school with 2 players, their head coach, and actually Beatty's going to take his offensive coordinator, Andrew Coverdale, with him. So very good representation for the state of Kentucky in that very elite high school game.
Absolutely, and I actually heard that James Quick will probably announce his college decision at that game, as do a lot of the college kids that get represented that are undecided. Dave, really appreciate your time today. Everybody who's listening, get out to the Dixie Bowl to catch this bowling tournament. Sounds amazing. I'm sure you all have college football there, so they can peek over and watch some really good young athletes throw the ball down the lane, and it should be a good time.
I'm looking forward to it, and I may even learn a thing or two today. We'll see.
Exactly. Thanks a lot, Dave. We
Guys,
appreciate
have
you
a
coming
great
on.
week.
Or you too. All right, man. Yeah, I mean, always great stuff from Dave Spelkler. Our producer, Adam, world famous, telling us that we need to go to a break. So
when we come back, we do have God, what is his name?
Sean Williams from
TalkTalk.com.
TalkTalk.com.
We will be back. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz.
It's the Weekend Sports Buzz. Tell us your thoughts on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
This is the Weekend Sports Buzz alongside Mark Blankenbaker of KentuckySports.co. I am Brad Steen.
The Steeny Weenie.
The Steeny Weenie.
And Adam's messing with us.
Is that what? Adam, get your microphone ready. Is that what, like Cannibal Corpse or something? Or
No, it's some random song I found on Newgrounds.
Yeah, let's not use those. Not anymore. We're not using Newgrounds information anymore.
Okay, I'll just let Matt make the songs. And,
No. We go.
Well, at least we'll get like some '90s jams or something, but not like
monster ballads and music.
I didn't realize I was going to have to fight a dragon today.
Man.
But we do have from TopperTalk.com on the line Sean Williams. Sean, are you there, sir?
I am here. I'm kind of deaf right now. I don't know what that noise was. I'm all right, though.
That's so good. Yeah, we really get some strange lead-in musics from time to time, and we just don't know what to do about it because they do it to mess with us. So, Sean, today is a huge day in the world of Western Kentucky athletics. You open with Florida Atlantic at 1 o'clock on the gridiron, and then later on in the afternoon and the evening, actually, you play Southern Miss in Hattiesburg and on the hardwood to open up the season. Talk about the excitement that's happening on the campus at Western Kentucky right now, and how you see it going today.
Yeah, we've had a really great year. I mean, and there's a lot of excitement. You got Coach Taggart and the football team doing well, and also the first full season of Ray Harper. He created a lot of excitement whenever he took over the head coaching job toward the end of last year. So there's a lot of buzz going around. And Florida Atlantic comes in here. It's a big game for Western because we had that kind of disappointing loss against Middle Tennessee last week. So they're looking to bounce back in a big way. And I think the best thing for them to do, Florida Atlantic's a 2-17 coming in here. They've done pretty good recently. They got a win against Troy, but Weston's a better team, no doubt. This is a good game for them to just come in and just kind of knock the doors down right off the bat, and make a big statement win, and hopefully finish the season with strong and get 8 or 9 wins and go to a bowl game. So.
Right, and you talk about a bowl game last year, like right now with 2 losses in the conference and having Arkansas and Middle Tennessee State ahead of the Hilltoppers with 1 loss. You need help to get back into the conference race. Last year was kind of the Hilltoppers go 7-5 and miss out on a bowl. What does Western Kentucky need to do in their final 3 games in order to solidify a bowl spot?
Well, I think they obviously need to get to 7 wins, I believe. They really just need to win out. Like I said, the loss to Middle Tennessee State was huge because you could have took advantage of the Sun Belt Conference standings. So now you have Arkansas State in the lead they're 5-1 in the conference, and you have Monroe, who is ahead of us. Their starting quarterback's gone for the season with a broken foot. So you lost an opportunity there. They've been losing games. They dropped the last 2 to Lafayette, and they dropped the one to Arkansas State last Thursday night. So the best thing for Western to do is just win out. They have 3 winnable games left. They have Florida Atlantic, and their biggest test will be next week on the road against Lafayette. And they finish it off with a home game on November 24th with North Texas. All 3 are winnable games. Thing about Western, though, is they seem to play really great on the road, but not really great at home and in the big games. But I'm expecting them to win pretty big today, though.
Continuing on about the football team, I'm a Kentucky fan. Our team sucks. But the name Willie Taggart has been thrown out there in some coaching job positions. Do you see Willie Taggart as the kind of guy that would leave his alma mater to explore other options?
Yes, but as far as Kentucky, no.
Yeah.
I put on the post on our website that, you heard sprinkles of rumors at the end of last year about his name popping up in certain job head coaching positions. You're going to hear it a lot more this year, just considering how the team's going right now and how they will possibly finish with 8 or 9 wins in the season. be one of those things to get used to. Will he go to Kentucky? No. I think he's got enough ties here for Western. He played here. He's coached here under Jack Harbaugh. He'll stay a little bit longer, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of those South Florida schools opened up, like Florida. South Florida is a good example. That job might be opening up here in the next year or two. That might be a potential job opening for him just because that's where he's from. That's where he grew up. He's got ties to South Florida. And, you know, that would be the biggest thing for me. But the thing is, we already got reports that, you know, boosters and everybody's putting money together to, you know, up his contract. So Weston's going to try to keep him here, and they'll do whatever it takes to keep him here, whether that means giving more money, things like that. So I'll expect Willie to stay here another 2 or 3 years, I think, unless something in Florida opens up.
Once again, we are talking with Sean Williams from TopperTalk.com. Sean, can you kind of give us a little breakdown of the basketball team? What are some of the expectations? I know you guys lost in the first round to Kentucky last year. Do you see this team as another NCAA type team that's going to make a run to the tournament?
Yeah, I think so. And the biggest reason is Ray Harper. I mean, Ray Harper is one at every level he's been at. He hasn't coached at the D1 level, but he has 2 Division II national championships with Kentucky Wesleyan. He went over and coached at the NAIA level in Oklahoma City. He won 2 NAIA national championships there. He's a proven winner, and he finally gets a shot at the Division I level. They have a whole off season under Ray Harper. Of course, you know, last season he took over. It was a few stumbles in the beginning, but then they put a run together there toward the end of the season. Sun Belt Conference tournament champions had that massive come-from-behind victory against Mississippi Valley State in the opening round, and of course that game against Kentucky. So a full off season under Ray Harper. One thing that Harper has stressed this off season in coaching and practice and everything is defense. You're going to see a lot of defensive intensity from Western this year. Some full court press, things like that. We lost Vinny Zolo and Derek Gordon, which were two. Derek Gordon was a real key cog last year as far as freshman is concerned. He transferred out, but we got some really good incoming freshmen and a JUCO transfer too, and they're going to be really good on defense. Defense is going to be really special this season. So I mean, everybody at Western expects a 20-win season, and for us to compete for a Sun Belt championship and go to the NCAA tournament.
You know, last March I was actually a pool reporter for the NCAA tournament, gathering quotes at the Yum Center, and got a chance to talk to several of the Western Kentucky players. And I really have to say that I was really struck with just how good of a locker room that was. You know, I went into the Kentucky locker room, the UConn locker room, Iowa State, Murray State, and I was just really struck by the positivity and the attitudes that the Hilltoppers had. In particular, you know, George Fant. I really enjoyed, you know, speaking with him. So can you just talk about, like, the makeup of this team from a personality perspective and, you know, how that maybe have attributed to their turnaround last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think that has a lot to do with, going back again to Harper's coaching and just letting these guys, you know, kind of have their own personalities and things like that. I mean, you can tell it's just a different coaching dynamic whenever he took over at the end of last season, and he just kind of instilled confidence in them that they could win. You know, as opposed to under Tim McDonald, there was just a lot of struggles. You know, and fan attendance was down. The hope wasn't really there, and then when McDonald got fired and Harper took over, you know, it just kind of uplifted the whole community around here. You know, you had Ditto Arena was being packed, and just a certain aura around Ray Harper and his kids. These kids, they have a lot of confidence in his coaching abilities, and they'll go out there and lay it on the line for him, no doubt.
Absolutely. Well, we really appreciate you coming on. Sean Williams, TopperTalk.com. Have a great day today. You know, it's going to be a long one for covering Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. You'll be busy writing on the computer, I'm sure. So good luck.
We'll be heading out to the FIU game here after I hang up the phone with you guys. So it'll be a long day of covering Western sports, and you can always check us out at TopperTalk.com for all the Western information and a little bit of sprinkle of sarcasm in there too. How about that?
You got to have that. You got to have some sarcasm.
Do you have a Twitter handle that maybe people could follow you at?
Yeah, Twitter handle, you can follow the Topper Talk Twitter handle. It's just at Topper Talk. And then my personal Twitter handle is Sean Williams _33.
Sean Williams _33. Get at him on Twitter. I'm sure if you're interested in Western Kentucky, that's the place to be. So really appreciate you taking a few minutes today, and good luck today.
Hey, no problem. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it, man.
No problem. Man, some good stuff there. A lot of good stuff coming out of Western Kentucky and Bowling Green down there. So, I mean, it's probably the best time in recent memory for both sports that are really going on. And I'm excited because we got 7 minutes until the show is over, and I can get into my car and drive home and turn on the television and watch my Cardinals.
I actually have the opportunity today. Obviously when I drive the hour and a half when I get back home, I have the opportunity today to sit there in front of my TV and not have to worry about the fact that Kentucky is going to get.
Isn't that lovely to know that you're not going to get run?
It's a nice stress relief. It is very nice. So I'm going to sit there with a nice cup of bourbon in my hand and watch football.
We did look up that next week's game against Stanford will mean absolutely nothing to the Bulldogs. They will not be in a conference championship game or the playoffs, so they may go for broke. Yeah. So, it might be a decent competitive game. We'll get to see maybe another win. So
we'll find out.
But no, this Syracuse game's got me worried, Brad.
There's no reason. If we're
a top 10 team, we should beat Syracuse.
Right.
Okay. So I guess
that's what you can kind of say what West Virginia said last year.
True. But I guess it's just one of those things where you're like, obviously you don't want to not be a top 10 team.
Right. So
if Syracuse can win, obviously you don't deserve to be there. But this is a game that I can look at on paper and I'm like, this is a game we can easily lose. Alec Lemon, incredible wide receiver. They have 3 great wide receivers, a great running back, a good quarterback, a decent defense.
Mm-hmm.
They play a perfect game. The Cards can go down. I don't think it'll happen. I think Louisville will struggle to win, but I do think that they will win.
Yeah, I think I would like to imagine that Louisville is going to come out and win. I mean, I know they're playing indoors. It's going to be a fast track in there.
Thank God there's no rain.
Yeah, for a change. Louisville fans don't actually have to pull.
We'll actually get to see Teddy Bridgewater play a game in which the conditions do not matter.
Exactly.
How special is today going to be?
We're going to find out who the real Teddy Bridgewater is this week.
Hey, let's wrap up the show. We got 5 minutes to go, but we got Carolina Steve on the line. Carolina, how you doing, buddy?
Just fine. Louisville, if they could win and go to the Orange Bowl, I was very disappointed that my Hokies couldn't beat Florida State.
Oh man,
where the y'all could have faced Taj Boyd and the Clemson Tigers. It looks like y'all were going to have to play Florida State. Their defense is one of the better ones in the nation, and so that ought to be a good football game. But what I'd really like to see is y'all go to the Sugar Bowl and play the Georgia Bulldogs.
I would love that too, and I hated to see Virginia Tech. They really kind of blew that game, in my opinion. They had some really nice opportunities, and then they gave up that long touchdown. I felt like they scored a little too fast, but I did think that in that game against Virginia Tech that Florida State was susceptible to the deep ball. So when you look at it from a Louisville and Florida State perspective, Teddy Bridgewater can hit that deep ball. I would love to play Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, though, because Louisville and Georgia were slated to play this year in the regular season, and ESPN came.
It's an area of good athletes. That Harrell guy for U of L, the basketball player, he came from Tarboro, so there's some pretty good athletes come out of that area.
Absolutely, and Georgia, they have a stable of running backs that are just absolutely unbelievable, and that's one of the reasons why they were able to beat the Gators. So, it'd be a great matchup for the Cards. I would love to see it. And what else is going on this weekend, Carolina?
I actually do have a question for you, Carolina. Before you answer that, I have to ask, but I know you come on every week. How are the Pirates doing this year?
East Carolina?
Yeah.
We're bowl eligible.
There you go.
How about that? Go Pirates.
Yeah, we got a chance for 2 more victories. We're off this week. We're like Kentucky. We're playing open, and they ain't never won a football game. And we got Tulane next week, and we got the game that really worries me after that. It's a game I hate to see us have to play every year, because when the original game between these two teams was played, I was in the stands, and after it is the one where Marshall's football team crashed into the side of the mountain. So that is one I really hate to see us play Marshall because of that. That's a very emotional game for both teams, and I just hope that usually the way it works out, they win at their place and we win at ours. So we finish 8-4. I've seen Armed Forces Bowl against Air Force. I've seen us going to Hawaii again. I wouldn't mind going to Hawaii because we were the last team to beat Boise State in a bowl game there, and Chris Johnson ran all over them. But I'm looking forward to that game, just like y'all said this afternoon. And by the way, just to show these Kentucky fans that I am a true football fan, I am going up next week, and I'm going to wear UK blue to support Joker Phillips in his last football game.
That's why we like you, Steve.
That is.
We got to get going.
Yeah, we got 1 minute left, so we really appreciate your call. You too. But man, I didn't know that the East Carolina Marshall game was that. So yeah, that would be a very emotional game to attend, to play in, to all the history behind it. You know, Carolina's an encyclopedia of this type of stuff.
Oh God!
So
every time he calls in, I learn something new. But that is the end for us. I hope you all have enjoyed me stepping in for Tyler. Mark, thank you.
Hey, no problem, man.
Allowing me to come into this room, be in the same room with a living legend and talk sports.
Hardly that, but go Cards today, and no Kentucky football loss.
No Kentucky football.
This is the Weekend Sports Buzz.